All right, so you're going to be asked to write an equation from 2 points. So they'll give you 2 ordered pairs, and they want you to write an equation of a line that passes through those points. Okay, so it needs to be in the y equals mx plus b format. Okay, so we don't have to worry about the y, we don't have to worry about the x, but we need to figure out the 2 key elements of this equation to fill in would be the m, which is the slope, and then the y-intercept. So how do we figure out what those 2 are, given the fact that we only have points? Well, one thing we do know is that to find the slope with given points, all we need to do is use our slope formula, which is y subset 2, well, I said I would say y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's figure out what the slope is. What I always like to do is identify which one is which. So I'm going to call this x1, y1, and this is going to be x2, and then y2. And then I can just go ahead and fill in the formula. So y2, I'm just going to go to my little key here, is going to be negative 8 minus y1, which is 1, over x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is 2. I'm going to simplify this, so negative 8 minus 8 is going to be a negative 9 over 5 minus 2, which is 3. Negative 9 over 3 is a negative 3. So our slope is a negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. Instead of this m, I'm going to say it's negative 3. Y equals negative 3 x plus b. Now here's the tricky part. How do we figure out what the y-intercept is? Well, we've already have a few points on the graph, so we can actually plug in or substitute any one of those coordinates into our equation. So I'm just going to pick any one of these. I'm going to pick 2 and I'm going to pick 1. All right, so I'm going to use the points 2 and 1, this being x, this being y. I'm going to plug it into that y, and let's just use a different color here. I'm going to take this x, I'm going to plug it in here. I'm going to take this y, and I'm going to plug it in here, and I'm going to solve for b. Okay, so watch how I do this. So y is going to be 1 equals a negative 3 times x, which is 2, plus b. Now let's solve for b. We've got to isolate that b, but first we need to simplify this. So I'm going to bring it over here. 1 equals negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6 plus b. Isolate that b, got to get rid of this 6 on both sides. So now we have 7 equals b. Okay, so I'm just going to erase all this. I'm going to go right back to my equation here. Okay, so instead of b, it's going to be 7. So there's our equation. We're done. Okay, you could have used the other point too. You could have used 5 and negative 8. It does not matter which one. The only thing is you cannot swap. You can't say, oh, I'm going to use 2 from this one and then the 5 or the negative 8 from that one. You can't. You have to use just one order pair. All right, let's look at another example. Write an equation of the line that passes through the given point. So this tells you you're going to need it to look like this. Y equals mx plus b. You're going to have to find the slope. So how do we find the slope? Well, you're going to have to use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, and then you're going to have to find b. So we're just going to say this. Don't know what b is yet. So let's find the slope first. First step you're going to want to do is identify your points. So I'm going to call this x1, this is y1, this is x2, and this is y2. And I'm going to plug these in. Okay, y2 is going to be -3. All right, -3 minus y1. y1 is -2. Ooh, remember, this is where you're going to want to make sure that you put these in parentheses so you don't have any errors with your integer rules. Okay, now x2, let's use green. x2 is 1. Okay, I'm going to put that in here, minus x1, which is 3. Okay, x1 is 3. This comes out to now you got -3 minus -2. Remember, you're going to add these. Okay, so -3 plus 2 is going to give us a -1. 1 minus 3 is a -2. This is just simply a positive 1/2. So your slope, we're going to call it m instead of s. M equals 1/2. Guess what? We're going to plug that into, while we're doing this, into here. Okay, might as well get it over with. Y equals 1/2 x plus b. Okay, so how do we figure out what b is? This is where you're going to want to use any one of these coordinates. It might be a good idea to try to use one that's positive. In this case, neither one of them are. But I'm going to probably just use this one because it's easier. Got a 1 and a -3. So I'm going to plug in the x value, okay, which is x value, which is 1, is going to go here. Okay, and then the y value, we're going to say -3 is going to go here. All right. Okay, again, it doesn't matter which order pair as long as you use only one pair, and that's it. Okay, so this is going to be -3 equals 1/2 times x, which is 1, plus b. Now let's simplify. -3 equals, well, this is just 1/2 plus b. We're going to have to subtract the 1/2 minus 1/2. Ooh, this is looking a little tricky. So we have a -3 minus 1/2 equals b. Since we don't really, you can use this, you can use a fraction or a decimal. You'd really want to pay attention to see what MathExcel will ask you to do. So, I mean, in theory, this is going to be, you're going to add these. So it'd be -3.5 equals b. Okay. So, or you could say that you've got a -7/2. Oops, not x, I'm not sure. How do I get that? I just made this a mixed fraction, or not a mixed, an improper. So I multiplied the bottoms and then I added it to the top. So -3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7/2. Okay, so it really depends on what the directions in MathExcel say. But I'm going to keep it as the as a decimal, just so you guys can see it's a little more easy. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of this, and I'm going to replace the b now with a -3.5. And there is your answer for this.